Welcome to Smart Wealth with Joshua.
Your daily stock analysis and catalysts talk. Today we're looking at stock name.
If you find our talks useful, please consider subscribe, like, and comment underneath to support our podcast. And if there's any stock you want us to look into, leave it in the comment section below.
So let's get into the analysis.
This story is, it's one of the most dramatic corporate transformations I think we've ever covered.
It really is a complete metamorphosis. We're charting a journey from niche medical cannabis all the way to owning critical telecom infrastructure in Mexico.
That's right. And if you look at the company's history, even just a short while ago, you're looking at an entirely different operation.
Oh, completely. The old identity was all about, EU-certified cannabis cultivation in places like Portugal.
Right, and running those highly regulated distribution arms like CanMart in the UK. But that whole model, frankly, it was just exhausting.
It was. The old business was fundamentally burning through cash. It was so regulated, and the revenues were, well, they were lumpy, unpredictable.
Dependent on volatile commodity prices. It was just a tough, capital-intensive way to try and make a margin.
Exactly. A model really designed for a very niche scale, not for broad, expansive growth.
Which is why this massive strategic pivot that happened back in August 2025 it's the only story that matters right now. It wasn't just a small change in strategy. It was like an identity transplant. They went through a reverse merger.
And that reverse merger is the key event here. Essentially, they were acquired by First Towers and Fiber Corp.
So for anyone who's new to that term, a reverse merger is basically a shortcut, right?
It's a shortcut. Instead of the infrastructure company First Towers going through a long, extensive IPO, they just merged into the public shell of stock name.
And the result is that the new economic engine, what you own as a shareholder, is now almost entirely focused on owning and operating telecom towers and fiber in Mexico.
You're no longer investing in, the price of medical cannabis. You're investing in the build-out of high-speed connectivity south of the border.
It's a classic turnaround story, a microcap, where the whole underlying business has been completely reset with a new, tangible asset class.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating is how the risk profile has shifted. They're trading all that commodity and regulatory risk for execution risk.
Risk of actually building things and leasing them out.
Precisely. The goal is to replace that volatile cannabis revenue with predictable, contract-based infrastructure income.
Of course, the promise of these sticky long-term assets, it only matters if your balance sheet can actually survive the build-out. So they had to do a financial cleanup first.
Oh, absolutely necessary. The balance sheet was messy enough that the restructuring was. It was job number one.
And we have to be upfront about this part. The process was dilutive.
It was. They issued shares. But that dilution achieved something critical.
It created a much stronger balance sheet.
Exactly. They cut their liabilities, they boosted their cash reserves, and they seriously improved their short-term solvency compared to, the old cash-burning cannabis company.
And de-risking the balance sheet like that, it's key. It gives them the runway to actually execute this long-term infrastructure plan.
Right. And this entire new strategy really hinges on one concept. It's called the free cash flow, or FCF inflection point.
Yeah, let's break that down simply. Because right now, their free cash flow is negative.
It is, which is totally normal. They're in the early stages. They're spending a ton of money building this stuff out.
But the tower and dark fiber model, it implies that once you're built, the cash flow just pours in.
Think of it like a skyscraper. The vast majority of your cost is in the construction, building the tower, getting the land, the permits.
Right, the sunk cost.
So once that tower is built, you get your first tenant, your anchor tenant. That revenue covers your basic operating costs, power, maintenance.
But then once those fixed costs are covered,
every single tenant you add after that, the second carrier, the third, the fourth, almost all of that revenue flows directly to the bottom line. It's almost pure high-margin profit.
And that's the inflection point.
That's it. Their whole thesis is about getting to that critical mass of tenants on their, 30 active towers and leasing out those 700 kilometers of dark fiber.
Which brings us to their competitive advantage, their moat. The old moat was all regulatory licenses and all that. This new one is physical.
It's a hard asset moat. It's anchored in vertical real estate and rights of way.
So through their Mexican subsidiary, they control those 30 towers and that huge stretch of fiber.
And these aren't just general assets, they are strategic assets, right in the path of a national infrastructure upgrade.
So what stops a competitor with deep pockets from just laying their own fiber right next to theirs?
Well, that's the beauty of this kind of moat. Securing the rights of way, getting the government permits to lay 700 kilometers of fiber. It's hugely expensive and time-consuming.
And just to clarify, when we say dark fiber,
We mean it's unused fiber optic cable. It's unlit. Customers can lease it and then light it up with their own equipment.
so once those rights are secured and the fiber is in the ground, it's almost irreplaceable.
Pretty much. And the same logic applies to the towers. Owning a strategic tower site creates these massive switching costs for the carriers.
Right. Once a carrier mounts all its expensive antenna and equipment on your tower, they're kind of stuck there. They can't just move their whole network across the street tomorrow,
Exactly. They're positioning themselves to be an indispensable landlord, a vertical real estate owner that's critical for Mexico's 5G rollout.
which creates that sticky, recurring, contract-based revenue we were talking about.
And the market valuation for that kind of cash flow is completely different than for a volatile cannabis business.
So let's connect that to the stock price, because the
Ugh.
market has definitely been reacting to this shift.
Oh, yeah. The stock is incredibly reactive. High beta, very volatile. We've seen these classic spikes on any news.
I mean, single-day gains of nearly 30%, and then another move of over 40%, all driven by this Mexico expansion story.
That sharp breakout movement is what you see in these kinds of catalyst-driven stories. The technical picture is starting to look bullish.
It's moving out of that deep, multi-year downtrend, that was the old cannabis story, and into what looks like an accumulation phase.
In simple terms, it's building a base. And we're starting to see higher highs off that base, which tells you speculative money is flowing in, betting on this turnaround.
And that momentum is being fueled by a really concrete growth plan.
Yeah.
The capital they raised, it's being put to work.
It is. It's being reinvested directly into expansion. The core operational milestone to watch right now is just the tower count.
They've talked about building up to 20 new cellular towers.
Right. So watching their filings for updates on that tower construction, that tells you if they're executing. Every time a new tower goes live, their potential revenue base just expands.
So what's the next big speculative catalyst? What's the thing that could really drive the next major leg up in the stock?
The most logical one, the most immediate one, goes right back to that inflection point we talked about.
Anchor tenant contracts.
Exactly. Announcing a definitive long-term lease with a major Mexican or regional carrier. A 5, 7, 10-year deal for 5G. That is the ultimate validation.
It moves them from being just a collection of promising assets to a legitimate, predictable infrastructure company.
Right. And there's also a powerful M&A angle here.
Because they used a reverse merger to build this platform in the first place.
There's inherent speculation that this structure is designed to be a vehicle for more acquisitions. They could use this public platform to roll up smaller telecom assets across Latin America.
And get to scale much, much faster.
That potential for rapid scaling is a really strong speculative element.
It's so important to remember the context here, though. This is still, for the most part, a retail and specialist story. The big institutions aren't really involved yet.
And that lack of institutional ownership is key. It explains the volatility, but it also explains the potential upside.
Right, there are no big funds holding it steady.
But if the fundamentals stabilize, if those anchor tenant contracts start rolling in, it sets up a potential for a massive re-rating when the institutions finally discover the story.
It could go from being seen as a cannabis remnant to a legitimate infrastructure play, almost overnight.
Which brings us squarely to the risks. We have to talk about the cost of funding all this growth.
Dilution. It's the big one.
It is the elephant in the room, and you have to accept it. The company is very clear that they're using share issuances to fund this transition.
So if profitability takes longer than expected, that dilution is just going to be continuous.
Right. Shareholders have to be prepared for the share count to keep going up.
But there is a mitigant here. They're diluting with a purpose that, in theory, adds more value than it takes away.
That's the key risk-benefit calculation. The dilution isn't just to, keep the lights on. It's to fund the construction of these high-return infrastructure assets.
So they're converting equity into physical towers and fiber.
And if they do that successfully, if those assets generate superior cash flow, the value per share can still grow substantially, even with a higher share count.
Okay, risk number 2 is just pure execution. The company isn't profitable today. Negative ROA, that's the reality.
The entire strategy depends on them flawlessly executing this rapid build-out in Mexico, which has its own regulatory hurdles and competition.
And you still have the legacy cannabis assets creating a bit of a drag in the background.
A minor drag, but it's there. Success means the new infrastructure growth just completely overwhelms anything left from the past.
And finally, risk number 3 is the volatility itself. We have to stress this. This is a high-risk microcap stock.
You must be prepared for extreme daily swings. This is not some sleepy utility you buy and forget about.
That volatility is the price of admission for the potential upside.
It is. If they get those tenants and hit their tower targets, the market will re-rate those stable recurring cash flows at a much higher multiple. You need the volatility to get that kind of re-rating.
So, to synthesize all this for you, this really looks like a special situation turnaround hold. Maybe a 12 to 36 month time frame.
It's an asymmetric bet. You're accepting the dilution and the volatility risk in exchange for a chance to own indispensable assets in a growing market before the rest of the world catches on.
Ultimately, it all comes down to one question.
Yeah.
Can this management team go from being cannabis operators to world-class infrastructure builders?
The market has given them the clean balance sheet and the capital now. You just have to watch the execution in those filings. Look for the recurring revenue metrics.
The success of this story really does hinge on Mexico's hunger for connectivity.
If that utilization ramps up, the old valuation model just vanishes. This becomes a core piece of essential national infrastructure.
And that just completely changes the valuation equation.
That's it for today's analysis on stock name. If you found this useful, please remember to subscribe to Smart Wealth with Joshua for more daily stock analysis and catalyst talks.